All right, friends, we got some big news popping out of the Middle East. We have another oil tanker that has come under attack. We're going to talk about why it has and what happens next with regards to that. We're also going to talk about what's happening in Europe. We got some troubling developments coming out of Europe. And we're also going to talk about what this beach is, because this is one of the most important beaches in the entire world. I'll let you stew on that one. We'll cover that towards the end of the video. But you can just kind of wonder, why in the Philippines is there a beach that's so very valuable? We'll get into that because I'm going to be actually doing a full video on that. But let's start off with what's happening over in the Middle East. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade. And if you haven't been here before, make sure you hit that subscribe button for the latest, keeping you guys ahead of the curve. And you'll see how being on this beach is ahead of the curve too. All right, so we have the situation with the Houthis. They just had their prime minister offed with some of his senior leadership at a meeting. They went against the Israelis again, and the Israelis took out their prime minister. Just yesterday, on Monday, they held the ceremony for burying and the funeral ceremony for the prime minister. And not only that, but they also launched an attack on an oil tanker. Now, the oil tanker is a Israeli-flagged Liberian flagged Israeli-owned tanker. So that's very in keeping with what they promised to do, which is go after Israeli-owned tanker ships. That is a situation that is developing there. President Trump has gotten promises from the late prime minister of the Houthis that they would only go after, they would not go after U.S. ships anymore. Now, they weren't really going after U.S. ships anyway, because the United States doesn't really have U.S. flagged ships except for its military ships. So the Houthis are doing this in retaliation for their prime minister being taken out in that airstrike. The funeral just happened yesterday, like I said. So this was just their initial kind of knee-jerk reaction that, hey, we need to get back to attacking those Israeli ships. The crew of the Scarlet Ray reported that they did see a splash near the ship, and they did hear the explosion, but the ship was not damaged, and it was fine. So that's no damage. They continued on their course and towards their destination. Now, we have seen in the past when the Houthis have launched an attack on a ship, they have taken a second bite, a third bite, a fourth bite on that very same ship, and they have gotten a lot better at actually sinking those ships. So sometimes they do this in order to kind of warn the ship, like, hey, you're under attack, you need to just surrender so we can sink it in an orderly fashion. But recently they've started attacking them with the motorboats packed with explosives, and that has been a lot more effective in scaring off the crew and setting fire to the ship in order to get the crew to evacuate the ship, so the Houthis can then board the ship, place scuttling charges on the ship in order to sink it. Now, the idea that you have to have a ship pull over before you can sink it does speak a little bit to the lack of your military naval capabilities, that you can't actually sink a ship unless you can stop it, clear off the crew, and then plant precisely shaped charges on the right stuff, right? So we have the missile was used. We don't know if there will be any follow-up attacks. This did happen on the 31st of August, and we are now on the 2nd of September. We have not heard of reports of attacks on the Scarlet Ray. The United States is not necessarily involved in this, but the Houthis saying that we are facing, this is a quote from them, the strongest intelligence empire in the world, basically saying that the United States is sharing intelligence with the Israelis, and the Israelis are sharing intelligence with the United States, and so they're facing the intelligence empire. And now this is an interesting concept here, because they seem to be grasping a more advanced military understanding of warfare and knowing that today is the information age, and those who have the information are able to utilize it as a weapon against their opponents. And so realizing that the United States passing information over to the Israelis is very much an active participation in the war. Now, the Houthis have proven themselves to be extremely resilient. They've been bombed for over a decade now by the Saudis, the United States, UAE, Israel, even the Brits have gotten in on it at some points. They've all bombed the Houthis, and yet the Houthis are still there, still doing their thing, and they seem to be fairly unaffected by all this massive amount of ordnance and hardware and expenses that have been used against them. They're still riding around the desert on their camels with their AK-47s, and basically they're still in power, and they're going to remain in power for the foreseeable future. Now, we'll get, like I said, back to the beach over here. I guess. Sorry, friends, we had to move because apparently wherever I happen to be shooting a video is where everyone wants to be for some reason. Anyway, so we're a little further down the beach. We'll talk, like I said, about why this beach is so very important in just a little bit, because it's super important. I'm actually going to do a whole video on this beach. I actually have done that before, but we're doing it again because I wasn't able to get that video to you. All right, so the Europeans are trying to drag us into the Ukrainian conflict. And how they're doing that is they're trying whatever they can do to basically deploy European troops to Ukraine with the backing or the air support, the tacit authorization of President Trump. They believe that if they can do that, they can basically, scream bloody murder when they get attacked and have the United States come in to the rescue. So basically they can send their troops in to go be basically a human tripwire for the United States, triggering its NATO obligation to protect NATO allies. So basically they just need to get the United States to admit that whatever the Europeans are doing is kind of legitimate and necessary and kind of authorized by the United States, so that later on they can say, well, we were just doing what you said that we could go do, and we did that. Sometimes a relationship between the United States and the European allies is like a mother with their children. The children are trying to come up with all sorts of ways that they can manipulate their parents, and it's usually pretty inept and pretty transparent what they're trying to do, and that's what's happening right now. Germany and France have been doing everything they can to drag us into that war. Germany has most recently been building a rail line. I know California's trying to build its high-speed rail line, but Germany has been building a military-grade railway across Germany and into Poland to basically run straight up to the Ukrainian border so that they can deploy tanks and military equipment and personnel directly to Ukraine without having to go through nasty things like roads and stuff like that. They're literally building a military corridor going into Ukraine. Why in the world would they be doing that? Because they want to deliver hundreds or thousands of tanks at a time over a very short period of time. Now, of course, you could ask the question, well, where are the Germans going to get all those tanks? Where are the Germans and the French going to do that? They don't have that kind of equipment. They don't. The United States does, but they do not. So we're probably going to see retaliation against the Houthis down in Yemen for their attack on the tanker. We're probably going to see more developments happening because of that as well. The Houthis are probably going to launch some more missiles into Israel because of that. We're also going to see once they do that, then the Israelis are going to hit back. The Houthis are probably going to attack some more ships, and they may actually hit something again. Recently, they've gotten to be a lot better at sinking ships. So they're starting to figure that out, but of course they're using more crude methods that are much easier to defend against. When they start using basically the motorboats with the explosives, that's a little bit easier to handle than inbound missiles. You know what I mean? So we'll talk about that, and that's a situation that's escalating over in Europe. We're going to have to keep our eyes on the Europeans, make sure that they stay out of trouble, make sure they don't drag the United States into trouble. All right, but this beach, where are we? First off, we're not in the Philippines. Not in the Philippines anymore. We are in Taiwan. So we are just a few miles outside of the security perimeter and everything like that of the major Taipei airport. It's Taoyuan. It's not technically in Taipei. It's in a nearby city that's been kind of gobbled up by the metropolis that is Taipei. And the thing with that is that they do have the high-speed metro rail going straight to the city and everything like that. However, I took a bus and to get out this way. No buses really come down this way, but then I walked a good ways down to the beach from the main road up there, crossed under the highway on foot, and got to take a little bit of a lay of the land. So I've talked a lot in the past about my concerns for this little island state, and they remain valid. And this beach behind us, like I said, is only a couple miles from their international airport, one of the most vital airports that they have. And this is one of the red beaches. So we'll be doing a video dedicated to that, but just so you can kind of see a little bit of the lay of the land, the real estate behind me. This is one of the red beaches back there, dunes around. There's some concrete obstructions here, but they're not really defensive in nature so much as they are really just against the erosion. And then there's the guys that crashed my party over there. But there's a harbor right back there. I'll be showing you some of that. The harbor is it's a fishing harbor. It's not like a big container port harbor, but it would be useful for unloading semi-large ships, not like big ships, but medium-sized ships. If they bring over medium-sized ships, they could be used in that harbor area. And so basically out there behind me, about 75 miles is China. So it's back there that direction because the coastline kind of wraps up around, and we're kind of on the northish coast of Taiwan, where Taipei is, but it's still kind of facing towards China. So you look out over that water, and that's basically 75 miles out there is China. If you're going like 45 miles per hour, which is I get it, fast. That's pretty fast on the water, but you're looking at an hour and a half to cross the Taiwan Strait to get over to China proper. And of course this is China here, just a different part of China and different government, very much a different government, but the readiness level here is just not what you would hope for from a country that is being threatened with imminent invasion, has recognized that they're being threatened with imminent invasion. You just don't see that security mindset. You don't see checkpoints. In the Philippines, you see checkpoints that in some of the areas where I've been are not really strictly enforced, but they do at night, they do stop and take a peek into all the vehicles that go by, which, it doesn't really feel like they're really on edge or anything like that. But here, you don't have any of that happening in this country. You look at obvious fortified positions that you could fortify, and they have not fortified them. You come to the beaches like this, and it's optimized for leisure and not for repelling any kind of attacks. Even just basic things like there's a walkway up here that walks along the thing. You would think that with it raised up like that there'd be places where you could hide behind it and stuff like that, but no, you can't. It's literally just a flat walkway up there. You can't really get behind it. If you get behind it, you don't have any clear view of the beach, and there's just no real way to use it to much advantage at all. So that's kind of the situation here in this country. You know, this is, like I said, one of the most valuable pieces of real estate in the world from a security standpoint, and we may see in not too many years, maybe this year, probably not this year, we're guessing, but the window for invasion does open up late September with the weather, once the typhoons kind of die down, and goes until April or so, April, May of next year, where the window of relatively good weather for some sort of invasion. We may see that this year, we may see that next year, we may see that in a couple years. President Xi has given his word, because you know he's a man of his word, that he would not be invading Taiwan while President Trump is in office. So it depends on whether you trust him or not, but I think it's somewhere in Sun Tzu, The Art of War, where you don't keep your promises to your enemies. So I don't know if that really should be taken very seriously, what he said about that, whether that should be considered. Anyway, so I wanted to bring you those two big news updates and kind of let you know a little project I'm working on here, which I will be getting to you in the coming days, coming weeks, probably in the next couple of days. I got to do a little bit editing and stuff like that to really kind of fix it up, to kind of show you what I'm talking about. We'll take a look at that harbor over there. We'll take a look a little more at the beaches over here, and just kind of show you how serious the situation is here outside Taipei. And of course, this is one of the best defended areas of the country. It's got a number of red beaches over here, and in some places there's a little bit of fortifications that have taken place recently, according to open source news articles on the interwebs. So I'm not conjuring up information that is not readily available on the internet. I'm just pointing out the inconvenient facts that nobody seems to want to deal with. Anyway, with that, I will leave you guys, and thanks so much for popping in. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right there up on the screen. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.